let's talk about eyes. Now, if you own any of my work or if you've seen my work, this is, the white part here is an applique. Applique just means you're taking one piece of cloth and sewing it discreetly down to the other one. Applique can be a lot of different things. When I say discreetly, you can see the little stitch marks that I'm making around the outside of this. I just use a one thread of white to do that. But you can still see the stitch marks. So you can see here for this little lady, we're going to need 1, 2, 3 of the white parts. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. Again, I'm going to say you can always use freezer paper method. Number 2, you can cut out the pattern into a circle. Or if you're like me and you have a circle template hanging around, you can use a circle template. Now, the thing that you need to remember about each one of these methods is they're a little different. If I'm tracing around this one, I'm technically making a circle that's bigger than this one, if you cut on the line. If I use a circle template, which I think this is the eye for, the size for, yeah, I'm technically making it smaller. Does that make sense? It's kind of a half of this, half a dozen of the other, 6 of this and half a dozen of the other. So I'll show you each way that I use these. If you just cut it out with the and make a pattern piece, it's a little difficult, but it can be done. I would recommend using a really tiny head pin for this. And if you're going to do it this way with the carton board, you simply trace around the edge. And you can see, again, I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you can see that. So here I have a circle template, and I want to say these can be getting, this one's an art one, so I'm sure I probably paid $8 for it or something. You can get much cheaper ones. And if all else fails, you can always use things you find around the house. This is a glue stick. And I want to say, this was one of the things that I used to make this, the head of a glue stick. And if you do that, you simply put it down and trace around it. I would be a little more careful. And you can see it works just fine. You don't have to have anything super special like this. But in using this, this eye is going to be, you can see it is visually smaller than these two. Which means instead of cutting inside the line for when you trace this way, you need to cut outside of it, which then would mean you would need to trim off this little bit right here, this little orange fluffy bits, which is one of the reasons why I tend to favor tracing around something, because then what that means is it's just like any other pattern piece. I'm just going to simply cut around it. So you can see here, I'm going to cut out these two so you can see what I mean. If I were, this was the one made with the template. If I cut around, and I want you to kind of notice what my hand is doing. I'm actually, the blade's resting here. I am gently pulling this through and going around. I've got a little bit right there. I'm going to nip off some of those little edges right there. So there's this one, which should be this size. And let's go around on this one. Okay. Put those over there. Okay. This one now relatively fits that one. And this one is now a size smaller. So that's the difference that you're going to get. So between using the template to trace, this was the trace that I did, and the tracing around something, where I can come in. I'm going to show you this again, where I can come in and just cut to the inside of it. Just to the inside of it. Sometimes with eyes, it'll bug me. This one's going to be a good example. Can you see that right there? Oh God, that's horrible. I'll just straighten them up just a tiny bit. If it's just a tiny bit that I need to cut off of it, I can, as I usually say, I can hide it in the rest, and in the rest of the production. This one is just too small. I'd use that for another eye. So that is how you trace them. Now, the next video that I want to make for you, the tutorial, is we're going to be attaching the eye. Oop, look at that one. Got a little bumpiness on the outside. I think rarely do I ever cut out a perfect eye. And some of you may be wondering why I don't use, what is it, SVG patterns and those Cricut cutters and stuff. For me personally, for my artwork, it's a little too uncanny valley for me. I like the, these may be crooked, a little crooked and not perfect. You still recognize them as circles. I still see there's a little bit there that bugs and there that bugs, but I can fix that in the next step. Because remember, all of my artwork is lots of interesting little mistakes that I learn how to cover up. And printing things out and having them cut precisely, I don't like how much waste is created by this and the giant plastic machine, but I just don't like the uncanny valley-ness of it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to attach these eyeballs.